What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Hoopers Lounge with myself and Alex. And it happened. It finally happened, ladies and gentlemen. LeBron James, who was holding the league hostage, Adam Silver would not release the NBA schedule for the new season until LeBron James picked a team. And it finally happened. LeBron is joining the Sixers on a 2-year contract, $8 million total, the cheapest anyone will ever pay LeBron James to play basketball in his life. Philly, absolute bargain to get, in my opinion, the second greatest player of all time on their team. And they have officially completed the best starting five in the NBA, in my opinion, right now. I think top to bottom, 1 through 5, that is the most daunting starting five in the league. Will that turn out to be the best team? We will have to wait and see. But I think in terms of just starting fives in the league, I can't picture a team at this current moment in time with a better one than Philadelphia after signing LeBron, after trading for Jaylen Brown. This team, to me, is a top 3 favorite in the East, if not the favorite now. I know we'll get into that with our thoughts about the signing. But Alex, what are your thoughts on LeBron signing with the Sixers overall, and what you think it means for the East and for the league, really?
Yeah, I know the Sixers were part of quote unquote top three along with the Cavs and the Heat, but I really did not see him going to Philadelphia at all. I did think the Cavaliers were the favorite for a while because he would not be under pressure to win there, unlike he would in Miami and Philly. Cleveland is home. He's already won there. He's already brought them a chip. I thought that he would have been a nice place to close out his career and play some pressure-free basketball while still being able to compete at a high level. But him joining Philly now adds this extra pressure to the Philadelphia 76ers. I think this is almost like Philly pushing all the chips to the middle of the table for their trust the process. I mean, they have LeBron for 2 years. Jaylen Brown is under contract for the next 2 years. It seems these next 2 years are the culmination of the 10-year rebuild that was the process in Philadelphia. And if they do not win a championship in these next 2 years, it will be an abject failure for the team. The entire core, including LeBron James, will be held under scrutiny should they fail to win a championship. And that's what surprises me. LeBron is 41 years old. He, at this point in his career, realistically should not be expected to play high-level competitive basketball. But because he's LeBron James and because of the team he signed with and the stage that they're in, yeah, he's going to be under pressure as well as the rest of the team. So I think that's just a huge shakeup in terms of the expectations that are placed on the Sixers. It's not like 41-year-old LeBron's going to carry you to a ring, but just him being on the team creates this sort of extra weight that, okay, we are really on a win now time frame. We need to get this done.
Yeah, absolutely. I think LeBron's whole idea behind joining Philly was those words you just said, win now. He has stated in his Instagram post, the caption, that this is his last decision, meaning these are most likely the last 2 years of LeBron's career. So enjoy it while you have it, because this will be the last contract he signs. This will be the last team he plays for. He might sign a one-day contract somewhere, but meaningful basketball, this is it for LeBron. And I'm really excited to watch them play together. I think the big beneficiaries to me are, one, Nick Nurse. I think it was going to be hard to kind of manage the egos of Maxey, Edgecombe, Brown, and Embiid, but when you bring in a guy like LeBron as almost like a second coach or a coach on the floor, I think that's going to help Nick Nurse a ton manage the egos of the rest of the team. And then the other big winner to me is Joel Embiid. We've never seen him not as a number one option, and I'm really excited to see how they manage his regular season minutes, because in theory, Embiid should be as healthy as he's been in the playoffs in a long time, because they don't need him to drop 30 a night in the regular season anymore. They have Brown, they have LeBron, they have Maxey, they have Edgecombe. So I'm really excited to see how they manage Embiid's regular season minutes, his regular season games, to ensure that he can be at his best come playoff time. So I think those to me are the two biggest beneficiaries from LeBron being signed. And for the rest of the Eastern Conference, I know the Knicks just won the championship, but I feel like you have to be looking at Philly as the biggest competition right now, just on paper. I know the Knicks proved it last year, and I still think they are a top 2, top 3 team in the East. But when you look at Philly's roster, I think everyone knows the threat that they're going to be next season and in 2 years, obviously, with LeBron signing the 2-year deal. So I agree with everything you said. It is win now for Philly. And if they do get it done, though, this will be looked at as one of the greatest rebuilds of all time. I would say, based on where Philly was and where they are now, this is a long time coming for Sixers fans, and I'm very excited to watch them play basketball the next 2 years.
Another thing that astounds me about this deal is the value of it. 2 years, $8 million. That is $4 million a year. To put that into perspective, some other NBA players making $4 million a year include Nolan Traore, Ryan Rollins, Milwaukee Bucks legend, and Danish Jenkins. So you have arguably one of the two greatest basketball players of all time for the same price as Danish Jenkins. There are 18 players playing college basketball this year that will be paid more than LeBron James will to play basketball this year. That is unbelievable. This has immediately became, by far and away, the best contract in the league. And money was an issue for Philly and Cleveland specifically in their quest to sign LeBron James because of their respective salary cap situations. LeBron came out and said, money is not a part of my decision very early on. And I thought, okay, so he's going to sign for $20 million instead of $40 million. But this is the veteran minimum. This is an absolute bargain. And like you said, yes, there is going to need to be some ego management on Philadelphia. You have 5 borderline all-stars essentially, if you want to include VJ Edgecombe in that group. But if you're Philly, you essentially had the decision between getting LeBron and not getting LeBron. You didn't have to think about salary cap. You didn't have to think about, giving anything up to get him. It was essentially, do you want LeBron or not? And that's an obvious decision for any team in the NBA to make. That's a good problem for any team to have, figuring out how to manage those egos. So I think this has already become the best contract in the league, in the NBA, the most valuable one. And I'm amazed that LeBron signed for the minimum. That truly blew my mind seeing the contract details.
Yeah, and if Philly ends up winning a championship, this might be the greatest contract in NBA history. Getting LeBron for $4 million a year. So that is to be determined. But I was shocked. I was with you as a Warriors guy. I always knew our name was in the hat. I always was out on Miami. I don't think that fit with Giannis and Bam was going to work. I always thought it would come down to, like you said, Cleveland and the Warriors. But Philly, I think the Jaylen Brown trade put them on LeBron's radar, and it's something different. And I think as a fan, I'm really excited to see LeBron in a new uniform, as opposed to going to Miami or Cleveland where we've already seen him play. So I am excited that it's a new location for LeBron, a place to finish his career on top, perhaps. I'm not sure. I've seen people compare it to ring chasing with KD, and I just want to preface that the Sixers have not made the NBA Finals in a long, 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 long time. And when Kevin Durant joined the Warriors, they were fresh off a 73-9 season and losing in the finals. So this, to me, is not ring chasing. I know LeBron haters will want to call it ring chasing, but the team and the organization he's going to has not had postseason success in a very long time, regardless of what the roster looks like. So to me, this is not your stereotypical ring chasing decision, and I've seen that online, and I just don't agree with that take very much.
Yeah, completely. Ring chasing would have been if LeBron signed with the Thunder or the Spurs. That would have been ring chasing. Like you said, Philly hasn't won a championship since the 80s, I want to say, since the late 80s. That is going on nearly 50 years of championship drought. Yeah, this is not a team with a winning culture. Another stat I've been seeing going around social media is that Joel Embiid, as we know, has never made a conference finals in his career, whereas LeBron James has made the conference finals in over a half of his seasons played. 52% of LeBron's career seasons he has finished in the conference finals at least. That is an unbelievable stat. And one of those two is going to have to give way this year on the Philadelphia 76er team. It should be very entertaining. Something else I want to point out about the trade is that Jaylen Brown, specifically, has made it very clear that he wants to be the number one option on a team. And now he's on a team where, I mean, on Boston, he was the unquestioned second option. Now he's on a team where some nights he might be the fourth option. I mean, if you're Jaylen Brown, I really think you are the big loser of this whole fiasco because this is not your team anymore. You are not the biggest name. You are not the most talented player. And you are a new face on an already established core. I think Jaylen Brown is under contract for the next 2 years, and I don't think there's realistically any chance that he resigns with Philadelphia long term. I think he will be looking for a new team in free agency 2 years from now, or maybe if Philadelphia disappoints, he might be a trade candidate at the 2028 trade deadline. So something to keep an eye on there.
And just off the top of my head, hearing you say that out loud in my head, like LeBron is the biggest name, right? In my opinion, if all five are healthy, I think Embiid's probably the most talented of the five at this point in their careers. And based on what I saw last year, who are they going to want the ball in their hands in the fourth quarter because he's so clutch? Tyrese Maxey. So I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know where Jaylen Brown fits into that spectrum of talent on the team, and that's why I said I think having a second coach on the floor like LeBron, a second coach in the locker room. Obviously, Nick Nurse has multiple coaches, but having a player who has the mindset of a coach, I think is going to help Nick Nurse and Jaylen Brown and the rest of the Sixers tremendously. Depth will be an issue for me looking at their roster right now, just because LeBron's not going to play 82 games. Right, Embiid, I'm penciling him in to play anywhere between 50 and 60 games probably, right? VJ and Maxey are probably the only two, maybe Brown, that'll play, 75 games. But even then, anyone can get hurt. Like, injuries are not an age thing. Injuries can happen to anyone. So, looking at their bench, I know they lost Quentin Grimes. I'm not sure what the rest of their bench looks like off the top of my head. However, I am a little concerned that they might get worn down, throughout the course of a playoff run. I think heading into the playoffs, they'll be fine, but I'm interested to see how, if they do make the conference finals, right, how much gas does Embiid have? How much gas does LeBron have at that point in the season? I think that might be the one thing right now that I'm telling myself that I think I give, the Knicks the advantage in that case, or a Pacers team, right, that's going to be fully healthy coming into next year. And if they were to make the finals, or the conference finals, I think they would have a lot more energy and endurance as compared to an older Sixers front court. So just, again, storylines to keep in mind throughout the season. But this team is going to be fun to watch, and I hope they work together because it is a collection of, I would say, other than Embiid, and I would say it's a collection of number twos other than Embiid, who's a career number one. But LeBron, at this point in his career, has been a number two the last, 3 or 4 years of his career. So, really, ever since Anthony Davis came to LA, you could pencil LeBron in as a number two, I would say, just based on how they were run. So, Brown, number two, Maxey, number two. Edgecombe was basically the number two last year when Embiid was hurt. So, I'm interested to see how this team works, and there's still only one basketball. That would be my biggest concern with Philly, is that they don't get to play with three basketballs. They still can only play with one, and I'm interested to see what buttons Nick Nurse pushes throughout the season.
The one basketball, I mean, that is what comes to your mind immediately when you think about this team. Because LeBron, yeah, he's LeBron James. He's a great playmaker. But Tyrese Maxey, Jaylen Brown, Joel Embiid, none of them are exactly playmakers. They're all score first. Prototype. That's the kind of play style they play basketball as. Score first players. And with there only being one ball, yeah, all three of them are not going to be able to be score first. They're going to have to take some possessions off, be able to concede. It is going to be a management of egos. If this team can blend together, this will be a truly incredible team. However, it is a big if. Depth also, I don't think is necessarily as big of a concern as it's being made out to be. The only real big losses Philly has had this offseason are Quentin Grimes, Paul George, and Andre Drummond. George obviously was part of the Jaylen Brown trade, and then Grimes and Andre Drummond both left in free agency. But the acquisitions they've had, besides Jaylen Brown and LeBron, who we've all talked about, they got Anthony Simons, who should easily be, I think that's a perfect replacement for Quentin Grimes' production. They also got Dean Wade, a 3-and-D guy from Cleveland. and they drafted LeBaron Philon, who should be an absolute bucket getter right off the bat in his rookie year. So I think, yeah, depth isn't a strong suit, right? This isn't the Oklahoma City Thunder, but I don't think depth on this team is necessarily a weakness. They have players on the bench who, can pick up the slack to give the starters a rest. The one big thing they need is a strong backup center behind Embiid, because losing Drummond hurts in that regard. Drummond isn't what he was. He's not an elite rebounder anymore. He's not going to get you 20 points and 15 rebounds a night, but he was a serviceable backup who they no longer have. So if Philly's not done making moves, I could see them being in the market for a backup big man. But aside from that, I think this is a pretty well-rounded roster when you looking at starters and bench.
Yeah, I think front court depth is definitely an area of concern, in my opinion, right now. But you're right. The Philon and Simons pickups will definitely bolster the backcourt and allow Maxey and Edgecombe plenty of rest throughout the season. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. As a Warriors fan, I'm devastated. I think this was our last shot at competing during the Steph era. And Rich Paul even confirmed himself that the Sixers and the Warriors were the final two teams in LeBron's head, which I think made it sting even worse. That he chose Philly over Golden State. But it is what it is. And I've been seeing a lot of questions about which is the better conference. So I guess we'll move there in our conversation. With LeBron now leaving the West and joining the East, a lot of people believe the Eastern Conference is now the better conference. Alex, are you one of those people, or do you think the West still holds the crown for maybe the most depth in a conference?
Yeah, I'm still going to give it to the West, but this is the best Eastern Conference we have seen in quite some time, maybe even throughout the 21st century. I mean, there are 8 clear playoff teams. You look at the Celtics, you look at the Sixers, you look at the Raptors now with Kawhi, you look at the Heat with Giannis. Let me think, use your brain. Look at the Hawks.
Detroit.
Let
me help you out.
Yeah, Detroit, Cleveland,
Indiana.
Indiana, yeah. There are, and if you want to throw Orlando in there, if you want to throw Charlotte in there,
Washington.
There are 10.
Yeah,
Washington now, they're a wild card, yeah. This is a loaded Eastern Conference, and 3 of those teams that we listed are not even going to be in the playoffs. There are going to be some really good players that we're not going to be seeing playing meaningful basketball in April, which is rare in the Eastern Conference. Usually in the Eastern Conference, we're seeing a team 5 games under 500 get taken out by the 1 seed in 4 or 5 games. So this depth that the Eastern Conference has gotten this offseason has really, like you said, it's definitely worth the conversation to ask which conference is better at this point in time. And to the East credit, they had the defending champions, right? So another point in their favor. I will still give it to the West overall. I mean, the West has had the last, I think Joel Embiid and Giannis are the only 2 MVPs to come out of the East in the last decade. So, yeah, until we are having some veterans go to the West, but all of the young players, all the future MVP candidates, when you look at Wemby, when you look at Cooper Flag, you look at even the guys who can compete now, Shea, Jokic, they're all in the Western Conference. They're really the only generational talent in the East. You can say Giannis, you can say Cade. So until that changes, until the East gets more MVP caliber players, I am still going to give it to the Western Conference. But this is definitely the closest the discussion has been in a significant amount of time.
Yeah, there's definitely an argument for the East, but I'm with you. The West is still the gauntlet of the NBA, and when you have the Thunder, the Spurs, the Nuggets, the Lakers, the Rockets, what I expect the Mavericks to be this year as a playoff team, the Warriors, as long as they have Steph, will be competitive. So yeah, the West is still loaded. I'm sure there's some teams I'm forgetting off the top of my head. Utah is especially an interesting team this year that I think can make some noise. Portland. There's plenty of teams out West too. So I think the depth of the league as a whole right now, there's only a handful of teams that I could say right now aren't going to make the playoffs next year. Out of the 30 teams in the league, I would say 26 of them have a chance to make the playoffs next year, which is absolutely mind-blowing to me. give or take a few, right? We'll call it 25 just to be even. But I think like that's how good the league is now. That's how good this draft class is now. That just elevates, a team like Washington or Utah. If they made the playoffs as an 8 seed next year, I don't think either one of us would be surprised given how their rosters are built, today. So it's going to be an exciting NBA season. And now that the LeBron sweepstakes are over, I'm glad we can kind of fully put our focus onto next season as opposed to playing this guessing game of where is he going to go and where is he not going to go, right? Like we talked about it on this show probably at least twice before today's episode about where LeBron was going to go and the updates involving this saga. So I'm glad that he made his decision. Glad that Adam Silver can release the schedule now, and the league is no longer held hostage by King James.
Yeah, also very glad that the NBA's offseason can finally seemingly almost move on because we were hung up on where is the king going to go for about a month now, I'm willing to say. But speaking about this draft class, I think that's a good way to segue into our next segment, the NBA Summer League, which concluded last week with none other than the Golden State Warriors emerging as the 2026 Summer League champions.
That's right.
Axel Lendenborg was named the Summer League Most Outstanding Player. Max, I know you were absolutely thrilled to see your Warriors take home a ring. It's been some time for you as a Warriors fan, 4 years with no rings. I know you must have been suffering. So what's your takeaway from the team? What's your takeaway from Yaxel? And how many of these young guys in the Summer League do you think can play meaningful minutes on this year's Warriors team?
Well, Yaxel, I just want to shout out him because, wow, is he good at basketball? Like, I know he's older for this draft class, and I know he doesn't have the ceiling, but right now, like, he is a good to great NBA player, like, today. Like, he's going to be an impact player day one on both ends of the court. And he is probably the most athletic guy on the Warriors roster, like, no doubt in my mind. So that, to me, is really exciting. And he was clutch in the championship game against Memphis, which Cam Boozer did play all the way through the Summer League. Shout out Cam Boozer for that. And Yaxel Lendenborg played just as good as Cam Boozer in the championship game, hit a clutch three and a clutch mid-range jumper back-to-back to kind of seal it. But to answer your question about how many of these guys I think can get minutes, one name that I was really impressed with is second-year guard LJ Cryer. I was really impressed with his three-point shooting, especially in the Summer League. He hit countless amount of huge threes, was the primary ball handler for the Summer League roster. He got some minutes last year, but wasn't really a focal point of the roster down the stretch and through the play-in tournament. He didn't get any minutes. So I'm expecting to see some sort of rotation between Steph, Podziemski, and LJ Cryer, hopefully, in the backcourt this year, especially with Moses Moody having that significant knee injury at the end of last year. I think Cryer is in for a significantly higher usage this year, and I would be confident to say that he's going to be one of the best three-point shooters on our team this year, which is exciting because the Warriors have lacked shooting ever since Klay Thompson departed. They have lacked that secondary shooter next to Steph, and I'm interested to see if maybe he slides in to the starting lineup. I know he's small. I know defensively he's probably not the best, but for shooting purposes, having a great shooter next to Steph, and I don't even know if LJ is great, but having a above-average shooter next to Steph has always been the Warriors' plan of attack, and I think LJ could be next in line for that role. And then another name I just want to shout out is Graham Ike from Gonzaga. I didn't even know he was on our roster until I watched the Summer League games, and he was, I would say, our most underrated player. He reminded me so much of Kevon Looney, of where, like, he just did the right thing every possession, whether that was score, whether that was pass, whether that was rebound. He was always in the right place at the right time, and if he could play that Kevon Looney role for us, I think that would be awesome. So those are the two names, other than Lendenborg, obviously, that I think had a breakout Summer League.
Yeah, I know the Warriors missed out on LeBron, but they call Lendenborg Dominican LeBron. So maybe you're onto something there. Maybe they didn't miss out too much. And the secondary shooter, you don't believe in Brandon Podziemski's ability to be a secondary shooter along Steph?
I look at him more as like a six-man Jordan Poole type, where he needs to be in when Steph is out. I don't know if the two of them really complement each other very well, But I do believe in Brandon Pajemski as a point guard to handle ball handling responsibilities, to kind of captain the offense around him or whoever else is on the court. I do trust him there, but as a secondary catch and shoot shooter, no, I don't think that's where he is at his best. But I think LJ, with what I saw in the summer league, could very well be that guy. Could very well be a bust and not be him, but based on our roster and Moses Moody's injury, I think there's a bigger role for LJ in store. Um, and now that I hope Jimmy Butler comes back fully healthy, because this team, if they're in the playoff race when Jimmy comes back, I do think they're going to be a sneaky team in the playoffs this year. Again, Steph, you could argue, would be the best player on the court in any series that he's in, and I think it would be totally 100% matchup based if the Warriors could win a series. But with Lendeborg, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green all on the court at the same time, I'm very excited defensively about what we could do 3 through 5 there. And then Steph and LJ Cryer, Steph and Pajemski. Hopefully Moody comes back, but that's kind of a long reach. Maybe they sign somebody. Because I do think the Warriors, now that they missed out on LeBron, are not done either. So getting a little bit off of the Summer League topic, but yes, my Warriors are the champs. Lendeborg is the truth. I'm so glad they made that pick. He was exactly who I wanted, and he proved myself. I feel like he proved me right with his Summer League performance.
Yeah, moving off of the Warriors into other Summer League standouts, how about Braden Burries on the Bucks, who had an outstanding Summer League? He averaged 23 and a half points a game. He knocked down a game-winning shot against Philadelphia, showing a clutch gene. And I personally was more excited for Nate Ament, but Burries showed out in the Summer League, and he showed an advanced ability to make shots off the dribble. Whereas I thought Burries was more of a catch and shoot three-point guy. He was knocking down threes off the dribble and creating for himself. So that's a huge development for how impactful I thought Burries was going to be, and just a guy who I didn't think had an overall high ceiling, proving me wrong. So Braden Burries, I think, was also one of the standouts of Summer League. And one more guy I want to shout out is Malik Thomas on the Cavaliers. Calipari guard who managed to slide somehow all the way to the second round. Dude finished with multiple 30-point games in the Summer League. He averaged 27.3 as a whole. And this is a one-and-done guy, right? This isn't a 4-year bet like Yaxel Lendeborg, who you expected to come in as a polished player. This is a 19, 20-year-old guard, and guards typically have a longer transition period to get comfortable in the NBA. And Malik Thomas made scoring the ball look easy. So easy, in fact, that I even considered him for our last ranking of the top 20 players in 5 years. He was that good. He was way better than Darius Acuff, his backcourt partner at Arkansas, who I will get into in a little bit. But Malik Thomas, I mean, you want a comparison to his game? I think Donovan Mitchell he could not have a better mentor for his game than Donovan Mitchell. I think the two have very similar play styles, both athletic guards who also have a knack of making tough shots off the dribble. I mean, Malik Thomas had a pretty nasty Donovan Mitchell-esque step back himself that he showed off in the Summer League. So I think he also is one of the big winners of the Vegas hoop session.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't watch a ton of Malik Thomas in the Summer League, and to be honest, I didn't watch a ton of Summer League in general. But from what I've heard and what I did see, he was very impressive, especially for where he was drafted. And I think a lot of the top guys were also impressive. I think of Caleb Wilson, definitely had his moments. Boozer, Peterson, Debanza. Acuff, like you said, is kind of the one prospect that I think there was more bad than good in the Summer League. Am I totally turned off by Acuff? Absolutely not. But there were definitely some growing pains in the Summer League, which I don't think a lot of his counterparts were really facing. And I think there's a long way to go for Acuff, especially defensively, from what I saw in the Summer League. Michael Brown and Kingston Flemings, didn't catch a lot of them, but from what I heard, I think they were pretty good. I know Michael Brown was shut down pretty early, and I'm pretty sure Kingston Fleming's teammate Henry Vasar had a very good Summer League, and he's looking like the steal of the draft right now, falling all the way when he did to the Hawks. So those are kind of some of the names I wanted to shout out in the summer league because I did not watch a ton.
Yeah, I didn't watch a ton either. Admittedly, World Cup kept me distracted. I was more box score watching and highlight watching. The top four, like you said, they all had their standout moments as we expect they would. Kingston Flemings and Keaton Wagler, those two specifically, had some rough outings, especially early on, but they seemed to get more comfortable as Summer League went on. Michael Brown Jr. showed off some pretty impressive shot making, especially for a guard of his size, 6'6". You love to see an oversized guard who's able to knock down jumpers. That makes the game incredibly easy for him and everyone around him. But out of those four, or those five, I was not expecting, or even those six, if you want to throw Braden Burries in that discussion, I did not expect Darius Acuff to look like the worst guard. Offensively, yes, rookie guards are going to struggle with their efficiency. That's expected. Acuff was not the most efficient player. No cause for alarm there. But defensively, wow, he has a ways to go. Defense was a known weakness of Darius Acuff. He was even worse than expected. I mean, the amount of time that he's lost his man off the ball and was allowing wide open cuts, wide open jump shots was abhorrent. It was awful. I think Darius Acuff is going to enter the NBA as the worst defender in the NBA. Very similar to a rookie year Darius Garland with the Cavaliers a few years back. I think that was 6 years back. Don't quote me on that. But Garland came into the league as an inefficient rookie and an absolute nightmare on the defensive end. He did evolve into an all-star player, although he's kind of regressed in recent years, maybe a bit unexpectedly. And I was really high on Acuff. I feel like this summer league has kind of turned me off a bit. I see him more as a Garland than as an elite scoring guard at this point. This was only a couple of games of summer league. I'm obviously overreacting. Maybe he'll have a regular season that changes my mind again. But Darius Acuff, I think, is the big loser, if we want to call him that, of the summer league.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. If I was coaching Acuff, not Garland, if I was coaching Acuff on defense, I would tell him, first off, just face guard whoever you're guarding. Don't worry about help defense. Don't worry about anything else. Just face guard. And if we have to play 4-on-4, we have to play 4-on-4, right? Like, if they give your guy the ball, then your teammates can help you. But if he doesn't have the ball, just get up into him, face guard him, and don't worry about anything else. I think that might help him. Obviously, he has to buy into that because face guarding does take a little bit of energy. But there were lapses where, like, he's 12 feet from his defender. His defender takes 2 steps to the right, and all of a sudden, the distance between him and Acuff looks like it's doubled. Like, he's now, like, somehow 30 feet away from him. Like, I don't know how that's possible. So, I agree with you. I think his defense was a complete and utter disappointment in the summer league. And this might be just pure stereotype talking, but how much of that is the Sacramento Kings effect? I mean, this guy was drafted to the worst organization known to mankind, and he looks like the worst version of himself the first time he puts their uniform on. Is that a coincidence? I'm not sure. Like, I don't know how much of the Kings organization, their coaching staff, has to do with that, because at the end of the day, they're all professionals, but the Kings are not a historically great franchise. They're not even a historically good franchise. They're like the New York Jets of the NBA. Like, they're just awful. Year in and year out, they are just awful. And how much of that is weighing into Acuff's mental game, I don't know. But that's an interesting point as well. Like, if he was playing for Miami, I think you would have seen a little bit of a different version of him in the summer league. I can't confirm that, but just a thought.
Yeah, it was just disappointing. Acuff very well might have been the worst defender I've ever seen on an NBA basketball court ever. Usually, when we talk about bad defenders, it's guys that can't stay in front of their man, guys that get blown by off the dribble. And, like, that's what we talk about when there's a bad defender. But even those bad defenders can stay on their man off the ball. Like, that is an elementary level skill on the defensive end. Guard your man. Stay on your man. Don't let your man get open. And it was not even possible for Acuff to do in the summer league. And what's going to happen in the regular season when he goes against actual NBA players, alongside, like you said, the Sacramento Kings, who feature Zach LaVine and Domantas Sabonis on their team, neither of who are great defenders. Oh my God, the Kings might allow 130 points a night.
Yeah, remind me to bet everyone's over anytime they play the Kings this year. Just remind me to do that.
Absolutely.
Just remind me to do that. Like game 1 they play,
especially the backcourt.
Yeah. Game 1 they play Detroit. All right, we're taking Cade. All right, game 2 they play Cleveland. All right, we're taking Mitchell. Just anyone that they play against that can drop 30, we're gonna bet them to drop like 40 on the Kings.
Like, especially the backcourt. You think Darius Acuff and Zach LaVine are guarding anybody? No, that is going to be a shit show. I'm not going to guarantee it. I would stake a significant amount of money on the Kings having the worst defense in the league this year. Not bottom 5, not mediocre, the single worst. 30th out of 30. Death, taxes, and the Sacramento Kings sucking. The 3 guarantees of life.
Yeah. That's not even that bold of a prediction because the Kings would, like, their roster is, 1, it's not good, and 2, it's terrible on defense. So they're going to have to win games. How many points do you think the Kings are going to have to score on a nightly basis to win consistently? Like 135?
Yeah, and Zach LaVine and Sabonis, all respect to them, former All-Stars. They're not leading that type of offense in their careers. Ever.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so either. They're going to lose. They're probably going to lose by an average of like a wide margin too. Like their point differential this year probably will be the worst in the league as well. I would be willing to bet.
Yeah, I mean, offensively, they've lost DeRozan, they've lost Westbrook. The Kings have lost a lot of pieces without necessarily adding anything good outside of the draft. It's going to be a rough year in Sacramento, even for their incredibly low standards. Any other Summer League winners or losers you want to bring up?
Now, like I said, I didn't watch a ton of it, and I really just kept up with the Warriors for the most part. But I think the 2026 draft class, from what I saw, lived up to the billing in terms of their Summer League performances, and I think they're off to a great start heading into their NBA careers.
Agreed. It may have been a part of the reason why last episode I had so many guys in the 2026 draft class in my top 20 in 5 years. But like you said, they lived up to the part. They looked like a generational class. They looked, especially the top 4, all of them look like generational talents. And yeah, I'm excited to see how they look when we get to meaningful basketball, meaningful regular season basketball coming up in about 3 months.
Yeah, sooner than you think. That's for sure. So we're going to move on to the end segment now here of this episode. And we've done one of these before. It is a build a team with the team wheel. I've already spun the wheel as we planned to do this segment last episode, but ran out of time. So the teams I already have written down. The key is, Alex, that you are only allowed to pick bench players to build your starting 5. You do have a 6-man role, and I'm allowing you 1 starter out of the 6 spots. So you're going to have a team of 6 players, 5 of which have to be bench players. And if they start, because of injuries, I'll cut you some slack there, but primarily a bench player. I'm sure you know the type of players I'm talking about. You have point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center, 6th man. Any questions before we get started?
No, let's get into it.
All right. There is no order in which you need to pick the positions or the players. You will just only know one team at a time and must pick a player before you hear the next team. So starting off, we have the LA Clippers.
The Clippers. Wow. I have very little idea who the Clippers even have on their roster anymore. They don't have Kawhi. They don't have Zubac. So presumably they don't have Kawhi, but even if they did, he wouldn't be a starter. Benedict Mathurin has yet to be re-signed. God, this team has nobody. Rui Hachimura is now a Clipper. I forgot about that, but he'll likely be a starter. Oh, you know who I'm going to go with? Last year's 30th overall pick, the first ever first rounder at Penn State University, Yannick Conan Niederhauser. Penn State
Wow.
legend. I'll take him at center.
Okay, you want him at center. Now, if you get another center, you are allowed to move him to the six man. But that is an interesting pick, and he was definitely a bench player for them last year, so it 100% counts. Next up, I feel like this is a good team to get for bench players, the Atlanta Hawks.
I do like the Hawks. The Hawks are a team with a lot of depth. That's been known. That's what got them this very far last year. Let's see, bench players. So, bench players. Do we think Lou Dort is going to be a bench player this year?
Over
What do we think about that?
Well, their backcourt's going to be Daniels and Alexander Walker, but they lost Richese, so they could play Dort.
Johnson.
They could play Dort at the 3. They could play Dort at the 3.
You know what? If that's what we're going to call their backcourt, Alexander Walker and Dyson Daniels, I'm going to go with Kingston Flemings. I'm going to go with the 2026 draft class, Kingston Flemings, and put him at. I'll put him at the 2.
Totally fair, because I do think he will not start over those two guys next season. I think he'll be a 6-man role in his rookie season. All right, so we got Kingston Flemings at the 2, and whatever center you said, I can't even repeat his name from the Clippers. Next up, we have the Utah Jazz.
All right. These are all.
Like, remember, you're allowed one starter, so you're gonna want to use a starter too.
Lauri Markkanen? I'm not gonna pick Lauri Markkanen as my starter. I can do better than that. Let's see. Ace Bailey had some bench. I think he's more so a starter.
Yeah, he's a starter. Doesn't count.
Okay, so we have Peterson, Keontae George as the backcourt, Ace Bailey, Markkanen, and Jaren Jackson as the front court. You know what? I'm going to take Bryce Sensabaugh, former 40-point per game scorer. We had that on our crunch time of a few. That was like 10 episodes back. That was a while back at this point. Mm-hmm. But he, at that time, was the most recent player to have his first 40-point game. Due to the bucket, let me get Bryce Sensabaugh.
All right.
Put him at the 3.
You want him at the 3. All right. So Alex has his point guard, power forward, and 6th man still available, and obviously.
No. Oh yeah, available. My bad.
And he can move them around. Next up, we have the defending champs, the New York Knicks.
This is what we like. This is what I was saving my starter for. Give me Jalen Brunson at the 1.
Okay.
We can move on. I needed a number 1 scoring option, and I now have that.
All right.
One of the best you can get. So
Brunson,
very happy with that.
Brunson, Flemings, Sensabaugh, and then whoever from the Clippers. That's the roster we have right now.
Conan Niederhauser. Stop disrespecting the Penn State legend.
Yannick Conan, what?
Niederhauser. He's German.
Niederhauser. Okay, that's actually not as hard as I thought it was. All right, so we've got 2 spots left. These must be bench players. Alex has used his starter on the reigning Finals MVP. Next team up, a lot of turnover here, the Miami Heat.
Miami traded all their bench players for Giannis. Who do they even have anymore? Oh my God. I could not tell you a single player on Miami's bench at this point in time.
I think I could tell you one. I think I could tell you one.
So let's see. Bam and Giannis are starters. I'm going to pencil in Andrew Wiggins as the other front court starter. Backcourt. Davion Mitchell and Pell Larson, maybe? Is that what we're rocking with in the starting backcourt? Maybe Tim Hardaway Jr. in there? I don't know, but you know who I haven't said? I need a 4. So I'm going to go with the other guy included in the Giannis trade and get Bobby Portis as my starting 4.
That's what I thought you were going. That was the one guy I could name. I was like, well, they traded for Bobby Portis, who's definitely not going to start for them next year. So he definitely qualifies.
Giannis or Bam, or presumably Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah.
So
all right.
Yeah, let me get the mayor at 4.
So Alex has his starting 5 filled out, so that means he can pick any position for the 6-man and insert them in the starting lineup if he sees fit. And the last player, or the last team, excuse me, is the Brooklyn Nets.
This is a joke. Oh my god. Brooklyn Nets starters. So Yegor Denham, no. Michael Porter Jr., no. Nick Claxton, no. Noah Clowney, no. And who the hell else started for them? Oh, they have Julius Randle, so I think I can take who's their starting forward or center?
Claxton will probably still start. I would say you could take the power forward if you wanted to.
Yeah. Okay, so that would be Noah Clowney, who I don't want. This is an awful team, dude. This is such a bad team. Okay. They got Keon Ellis in free agency, so I'm going to assume he is a star. Okay. We have some guards. We have Mikael Brown, Keon Ellis, and Yegor Denham. Which two of those three you want to count as starters?
Mikael Brown, 100% is going to be a starter next year, I think, in Brooklyn. And
okay, so either Yegor or Keon Ellis.
Yeah, I would say Keon Ellis probably will not start. I would pencil him in a bench role.
I'll take Keon Ellis. That could have been worse. It's like a Justin Holiday type off the bench. You know, we need a Pat Bev on our team. You know, we need that guy who's going to get under the opponent's skin. That's Keon Ellis. That's what he's going to serve.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good 3-and-D guard. Honestly thought you were going to insert him in the starting lineup and bring out like a Kingston Flemings to your bench, but hey, that's not a solid roster for the parameters of the challenge. And the teams you got weren't great either. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I have the reigning Finals MVP, Jalen Brunson, can carry me and drop 40 points a game. Kingston Flemings can guard the other team's best guard, let Jalen Brunson have easier defensive responsibilities. I don't hate this, you know. I don't think we're winning a championship, but
yeah, how many?
I think we're making second round.
Yeah, how many with this core and any coach of your choosing? How many games are you winning?
Give me Eric Spoelstra and we're winning 45.
45. Yeah, that's probably true. And you're probably what, like a 6 or 7 seed, losing the first.
I think we can escape. I think we can escape the play-in, and I think we can pull off a first-round upset. If the cards go in our favor.
Who's your second leading scorer behind Jalen Brunson?
The Kingston Flemings breakout, but we don't need a secondary option. Jalen Brunson will average 40. No second option needed.
In the playoffs. All right, yeah.
Give the rock to Brunson. No, give the rock to Brunson and get out of the way.
Yeah, okay. Hey, interesting. You, I feel like your team's pretty solid. And with a coach like Spoelstra, you probably would find a way to go above 500. Which would be miraculous, with Niederhausen as your starting center.
Stop disrespecting the Penn State legend. Penn State's first ever.
Bro was a backup to Brooke Lopez, dog.
Okay, that's development, much needed development for Niederhauser. Just wait till he averages double this year, 10 points, 10 rebounds.
Hey,
incoming for Niederhauser this year on what's going to be a really shitty Clippers team.
Maybe he will. I mean, he might get minutes this year, which you can average damn near anything if you're getting the amount of minutes in the NBA. So that is for sure. But that's going to wrap up this episode of the Hoopers Lounge. Just to recap, LeBron James is officially a Philadelphia 76er. And they are one of, in my opinion, the top 5 favorites to win the championship now, if not top 3, I think, heading into the 2026 season. Yeah, it is unbelievable. Like Alex said, it is crazy to wrap my head around. And the Eastern Conference just got a whole lot more competitive. That is for sure. So that is going to wrap this up. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out.
Peace.